So I watched your movie. I really enjoyed it. It's got a very unique storyline. It feels very much like a love letter to The Exorcist.
Yeah, thank you. That's high praise. It was definitely uh, not an homage trying to be the Exorcist, but like on the street next door, like sort of a okay, you're the master. This is going to be the love letter to my dad to the film, and kind of deconstruct sort of the history and the mythology and make it about other things too. Yeah,
Right, right. You could definitely tell that, but it had those little moments that's like, you gotta love it.
we wanted to wink a little bit at it, obviously, here and there, and yeah, for sure.
Right. So how did this film come to be? How did the story happen?
It was look, it's hard. Look, it's inescapable. Obviously, it's so much rooted in. There's so much about it that's about grief. And my dad died when I was very young. Uh, and I think that he had his own demons, for lack of a better word. And I'm always trying to, I guess, in ways, heal from that, you know? And I think in a lot of ways, he had a struggle with a lot of his own sort of internal furnace and issues. And I think some of them are related to Exorcist in terms of the outsized and unbelievable, like giant shadow that it cast over his whole life. But I also think just being a creative person, trying to create art, trying to put movies in the world, um, was a challenging craft, a challenging devotion that he committed to his whole life. And some of those things were successful, and some of those were great failures. And I think that Anthony was very much obviously inspired by my dad. And in some ways, I'm always trying to understand, you know, what he's been through. And I think, I came to Mark and be like, you want to make a movie that's sort of about my dad? How do you feel about this?
And I was like, no.
Yeah, he was no. And, you know, I'm so grateful that Mark was willing to be interested in this idea, even though it was so personal to me. Mark was able to find ways in that meant something to him that I think are interesting too.
I had my own Catholic damage to bring to the table, and Josh is amazing at figuring out worlds within worlds that aren't necessarily obvious to other people, and that's one of his gifts. And I was lucky to get to be part of it too.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I definitely understand where you come from about your dad. I lost mine too, so I get it.
Yeah, it's it never. I don't know. I mean, my mom also passed away 5 years ago. I feel like the mom's the big one, but I guess everyone's different. But the dad is definitely something. It's a big one in certain ways, but the dad is epic, right? The dad was the first parent to go, and I definitely kind of lost my mind for a bit after he died. I definitely lost my way in a certain aspect, and you kind of feel untethered, without your parents around. And I thought a lot about Ryan in the movie and what that would be like to feel like you're going to lose your dad, and what it's like to the horror of him, like someone falling apart in front of you, like dying slowly in front of you, is such a painful thing to witness.
Especially if they're very vulnerable, especially if you're having to come to terms with the fact that they're only human instead of the symbol that you thought you could treat like a punching bag forever, and because you were mad at them. It's like I think for us that maybe that's like really the core of the horror of the movie is having, watching this young woman have to grow up in a very let's say unusual way.
Right, right. I definitely understand. Like I said, I loved the movie. I thought it was great, and I can't wait to see what everybody says about it.